Welcome back, children. Y'all ready? ¿Listos, estudiantes? Okay, cool. Let's make this work. So, where we're at now, we have to actually make some tiny little tweaks to each of our divs that are holding our pictures, along with the container div, to start adding a nice touch to our styling. We want to create a little white space throughout the page, and we want things to be spaced evenly so that they look a little flyer. Right now, there's a little bit of space on either side here. Everything's crammed up against the side of these divs. It doesn't quite look professional. And so we have to make some serious changes to how we structure the layout of this page. One of the things that I'm going to show you is a CodePen page that I basically stole or forked off of another talented designer named Chris Inman. Right here, it's this little, this CodePen page is a block versus inline high-level overview. So let's just take a look at what we're about to do here. I'm going to go to full page mode so you can see what's going on. In HTML, we display things in two ways. We either display them block or we display them inline. And both of those elements respond differently depending on which display they are. All block elements take up their entire row on the page. So if you look back at our HTML here, remember when I started putting these images inside their own div a couple videos ago? When I did that, they all started to take up their own row. And you can actually see the background color shows how much space each of these divs take up. The only space they're not taking up is the padding on the left and the right of the container. But divs take up the entire width of whatever container element they're in, whatever parent element they're in. They take up the entire width, 100% of the width. Inline elements do the opposite. Inline elements only take up as much space as they need to, as their content accepts. So, in fact, we can see that same problem in paragraph text. Paragraph text takes up the entire width of the space it's in, and it's given any height and width values it responds to. But you see this here, this is an anchor element. An anchor element is a link. Links do not take up the entire row that they're in. In fact, they don't even begin on new lines. They bump up right next to each other as often as possible, like this. You can see a bunch of inline elements here. 1, 2, 3, 4. They stack left to right, and they only take up as much space as the content inside the tags. This makes inline and block elements work completely different when you give them styles. And if you were to give an anchor tag a height and a width, it doesn't care. It doesn't respond to it. You can see here, I want this to be 100 pixels tall and 200 pixels wide. It says, I don't care. And it stays right there. It doesn't listen to me. This is because inline elements do not respond to height and width values. Now there's one last way we can change them up. We can give them what's known as an inline block, which gives them properties of both elements, like this. Inline block, where they'll display in line with each other, but they will also take up the height and width that you give them. This is similar to floating, which we've seen before. It's similar to that, but we can use inline block and floating to achieve different display and layout results. So I'm going to give you guys access to this block versus inline high-level overview. Again, I forked this from another talented developer on CodePen, so this is not my work, but I did make some changes to make it easier for you guys to read and understand. So back in my index.html, see how all of these picture holders right here? All of these divs have a class of picture holder that are holding the images. What if I had those display inline? Let's see what would happen. Picture holder, display, inline. Uh-oh, what happened right there? All kinds of stuff was messed up. You see that? Something is seriously wrong with that. Things aren't working out. The paragraph tag is below. It's only taking up a little bit of the image. Displaying things in line only accepts the height and width value of the content, but since the paragraph starts on a new line, it's going to be all kinds of messed up. If we do display inline dash block, now our hamster and our image fit inside, and we can give it a width of, say, 20% or 30%, and they'll take up exactly the amount of space I want them to, and they'll stack right next to each other, like this. But you'll notice when I do that, they don't line up at the top, do they? Where do they line up? At the bottom. Yeah, at the very bottom of the element, of the picture holder element. So giving things a display property like this can cause them to be in the spot that we want them to be in. Now, I'm actually going to get rid of that for right now because I only want to do this with the paragraph text inside my div. So inside the picture holder paragraph, hit display inline, just like that. And now check out what happened. All of a sudden, my hamster text is right next to my hamster image. Cool. In fact, if I go in here and I create an anchor tag for the source, so that everyone knows the source of this image. Say I were to say anchor tag href equals, let's just say hashtag for now, so nothing. And then I say source, and I save this and I refresh it. I'm going to see that my anchor tags will line up exactly with the other elements on my page, like this. This is what inline styles do. It allows the paragraph text and the anchor text to be right next to each other. Now, this still doesn't look very good because I haven't given any styles to the anchor tag, so we can go ahead and do that right now. Let's say dot picture holder, and then how do you select an anchor tag inside the picture holder? We did it a second ago. Just give it a space, and then select the element you want, A, like that. And then we can say color, let's say light blue. And bam, there it is. So that looks a little bit better. We're starting to get something nice. Okay? Now, these elements line up with each other, so I can give this hamster logo as much as I want. But say I start typing out a bunch more stuff for the hamster. Let's call this is my friend actress hamster. Because she's in a great pose right there. Her pose is phenomenal. And let's save this, refresh it. Let's see what it looks like now. Okay, so this looks okay, but you'll notice, again, the second my text starts getting long, it goes below the image. Again, that's not what I want. So in the next video, we're actually going to put both the text and the image in their own little div so we can style them exactly the way we want them to and make it start to look like an actual card. So I'm going to go ahead and save this now. We're going to end it for here. And in the next video, we'll add some additional styling to make this look fly.